Hi, it's GotAUkulele, it's review day, and there's a smile on my face because this week we are back to a handmade instrument made by a guy called Paul Barnard at Wildcat Ukuleles. He's based in Oswestry on the English-Welsh border, not too far from me at all. He was introduced to me by another builder I know called Kevin Mulcock of KM Ukuleles, who met him at the Meet the Ukulele Maker Festival of Pete Howlett's in North Wales, who Paul had also trained under, like Kevin had. And he saw his instruments, liked them, and suggested that he get in touch with me and get them featured on the website because he thought I might like them too. And I was really pleased when Paul rocked up at the office and dropped this one off. And I'm pleased because it's a baritone, and I don't feature enough baritones on the website. So that's what this is. It's a standard 20-inch scale length baritone ukulele, but quite diminutive in the top width across the face. Kind of reminds me of a parlour guitar. Quite often baritones can be, for want of a better word, just really small guitars and a bit overly chunky, I find, for a ukulele. I like how diminutive this is. It's topped in solid European spruce, which is in two pieces, really nice condition, nice pale grain, and it's complemented by this really nice contrasting brown coloured black walnut, two pieces on the flat back, two pieces on the sides with a walnut inlay. And what you'll find throughout on this is that there's other decorations on it, and what Paul's done is they don't jar, they don't stick out, they don't mismatch. Everything complements this dark and light, dark and light, light and dark. So we have some other decoration. We've got wonderfully applied maple binding around the top and around the back. It's also black, white, black purfling around the top. And we have more of the black walnut with some purfling around the sound hole. So again, dark and light, and it's not really, nothing stands out. The bridge is made of rosewood. It's a through body design, which I'm seeing more of, and I like those. People seem to think they're complicated. They're not complicated at all. I'm afraid the light's going all over here because this is so pale and the camera is focusing on the ukulele, so bear with me. And that's a bone saddle. It also has it has a strap button, but we have a side sound port. I'm not a huge fan of them, not because I dislike them, I just don't find they do a great deal for me, to be honest. I'm quite happy. Musical instruments existed perfectly well, stringed instruments projecting out of the sound hole, but you know, it's an option. And that's the thing to note about whenever I'm reviewing a handmade instrument. If you don't like any of the appointments on this, within reason, Paul can change them. This is just an example of what he does. This is just but one instrument. He can use different woods. You don't have to have the sound hole. You don't have to have the bridge like that. You don't have to have the inlays like this. So it's one of the great things about buying from a handmade builder. But what's great about a side sound port is I get a good look inside, so I can see that the neck is bolted on. I can see it's really neat and tidy. Notched linings, mahogany back bracing and spruce top bracing, and we've got a fan bracing pattern down here that runs from the sound hole down to the bridge plate. Really, really nicely done. Okay, that neck is made of sapele, but I can't say it's all solid sapele because it's actually jointed down the middle, because it's got a skunk stripe, and I really like those. So basically it's a sandwich of sapele with other wood in the middle, and what he's done, if I can get close enough to show you, is it's actually a triple stripe. You've got a much paler maple stripe down the middle, and it's bordered on either side by more black walnut. That is really, really attractive. It's a quite nice profile as well, nice and flat up here, not overly rounded. A really generous about 37mm at the nut with about 29 between the first and the fourth string. That's really nice. It's topped with rosewood, nice condition, edge bound with more maple, which means you don't feel the fret edges. Supremely comfortable, but that neck is also supremely comfortable, and I probably won't be able to show you this, is because it's radiused. It's got a very slight curve on the top, like you get on an acoustic guitar. You don't see a lot of it on ukuleles, but I really like it. It's preserved of the high-end stuff, and it makes for a really comfortable playing experience. That's nice to see. Mother of pearl dots at 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 17, and they are repeated with black dots contrasting in the maple on the side. That's a really lovely neck. Beyond the bone nut, obviously setup on this is really, really good. We've got a nice sort of swoopy I like the shape of that headstock, different, narrow, and I really like the carving here on the back. It's got kind of a heel to it, reminds me of the Godin multi-uke. I just think that looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's fitted with Leader brand geared tuners with black buttons, no complaints with those at all, they're really decent quality. And he's strung it with D'Addario Pro Art fluorocarbons, but he's modified the set to put an extra wound G-string on the third from a titanium set. Again, you can string it with what you like. I don't get too hung up about what strings are on it, but in typical low D, G-tuning, baritone, 2 wound strings, 2 fluorocarbon strings. Nice. As I say, this is just an example of his work. In this spec, with these details, this had come in at about £600. He ranges on the baritones between £550 and £650, depending on what you specify. That's a pretty keen price for something that's been handmade with this level of appointments. It would all mean nothing if it sounded terrible. I can tell you, and you can tell, that I like the look of it. I like the look of it a lot because everything matches. It's like pale, dark and light throughout. Nothing standing out as being in the wrong place. I like the build. I can't find anything wrong with it. It's flawless. I should mention, actually, the finish is a kind of complex grain-filled epoxy, covered with shellac, covered with more coats of oil. It's kind of semi-gloss, but it's not like those sticky satins or rough satins. It's really, really smooth, really, really nicely done. So everything about it's really comfortable to hold. It's nice and light. It's balanced, but the sound is just... it's really, really good. This is as close a sound to a Spanish guitar as I've really had in a baritone. I know that they're getting close to guitar sound, but it's just got that shimmer. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's resonance, and that's the harmonics working together. I love it, absolutely love it. It's just got a lovely somebody who's more accomplished at Spanish guitar than I am, and I'm not accomplished at Spanish guitar at all, could really get some nice stuff out of this. It's the picking that really shows its class. Oh, it's got a really pretty bell tone. Let me try that again. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, everything's right with it. It's got a very good score. It's impeccably well made. It looks terrific. It sounds terrific. The price is good. You know, I'm such a lucky guy to get to play stuff like this. I'd never knew who Paul was until about 3 weeks ago. But there he is. He's off in Oswald Street making wonderful stuff like this. If you're in the market for a made instrument, I always say this, you should be, because It's just a lovely thing to own, and it's a lovely thing to be part of the build process and specify what you want. Here's another name that's gone on the list, very much at high end on the list, not at price, in quality. If you're buying one, you really need to be looking at this guy. Wildcat Ukulele is made by Paul Barnard in Oswald Street. This is his baritone. He makes other stuff, and he'd be willing to hear from you and get something specified. I really encourage you do. I'm not a baritone guy, otherwise I would buy this. I hadn't told him that, assuming he'd sell it to me. I'm just not a baritone guy because I've got guitars and I play them, but I know a lot of people out there really like the baritone scale ukulele, and this is the best baritone I have reviewed on GotAUkulele so far. Well done, Paul. This is terrific. It was great to meet you, and be sorry to see this one go. Back next week.